Hello. Hi, my name's Andy, aka AJ Stewart. Thank you for showing an interest in my book. I've written a book called Trapped. It's my first book, first time author, and I thought I'd put a video together because over the last few weeks I've had a lot of people asking me what it's about. So I thought I'd put a video together doing a book review. I hope you find this useful. What I did do, I'll tell you a story actually before I get into my book review. About a month ago now, my publisher contacted me and said, we have a publication date, which was, as you might imagine, very exciting. And I'm embarrassed to say one of the first things I did is I went on to Amazon to see whether it was being announced, coming soon, this new book. My ego got in the way of common sense because clearly there was no such thing there. What was listed was a number of books also called Trapped, which went through a number of emotions, number of thought processes. The first thought process, which was, I suppose, typical author self-criticism, was, oh, that's really unimaginative to have called your book something which has been called that many times by other people. My second thought was, I think quite British, is like, whoops, have I done something wrong? Have I infringed someone else's copyright? I got past that. And I'm embarrassed to say that only my third thought, should have probably been my first thought, was, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what they're about. I did what many of us might have done. I decided to buy a selection of books to see what their stories were and to see what they were like. So I thought, instead of just doing a book review of my book, I'd do a book review of a selection of books that happen to be called Trapped. So if you're in the market for a book, you wake up one morning and think, I know what I want to do today. I want to buy a book called Trapped. These are some of your options. There are thousands available. Well, probably not. There are 20 or so that I could find on waterstones.com. I've picked the most sort of popular ones, really, to review. The first book I'm going to review, purely because it's the first one that popped through my letterbox, is a really good book, a really interesting book by Rosie Lewis. I really enjoyed this, partly because it's very unusual, so you won't read many books like this. So this is from the perspective of a foster carer who takes in children who are taken away from their families for whatever reason. And this particular foster carer deals with short-term foster care, so it takes children away in emergency situations, in when parents need respite, that type of thing. And it's the story of the foster carer, her own two children, and this child that gets pretty much dumped on her doorstep late at night. Police are involved. It's not an easy read. Clearly some but I really enjoyed it, and had I had the time available, it's the sort of book that I'd have read in one sitting. So really enjoyed this, and it opens up a world that I didn't know that much about, I'm embarrassed to say, but it really opens up the door to an interesting and to a world of people who are carers. That's really makes you humbled. So I really enjoyed that. Thoroughly recommend it. Rosie Lewis, Trapped. The next book that came through my letterbox was by Anna Smith. This is an unusual book. I read it and I enjoyed reading it, don't get me wrong, but I didn't like anybody in it. I wanted them all, if I'm honest, I wanted them all to die a horrible death. But nevertheless, I really enjoyed it. It's about what you might call the underworld, I suppose, extortion, drugs. There's violence in it, and it's based in Glasgow. It's got a whole sectarian element to it, which was found interesting. And it's the main character. She's quite forceful and powerful and trying to change things. So she's come from I'm nervous. This is my first time I've done a book review of any description, so nervous about spoilers. But really, really gripping. Definitely a sort of holiday read. That type of book. Moves along really quickly. Juggling locations, lots of things happening in different places. That type of book. Really good. Third book, number 3. Jackie Rose. Now this book, it's quite similar in terms of if you enjoyed Anna Smith's book, you read that, then you would enjoy this. We're now in London, we're in Soho, underworld again, money, loan sharks, drugs, prostitution. She talks about 3 levels of Soho, which I really quite interesting. First level of Soho is the Soho that you and I might experience, which is, theatres, restaurants, bars, entertainment zone. Then there's the diversity Soho, for want of a better description, with LGBTQ plus areas, Chinatown, huge amounts of diversity, diverse populations from all over the world and all over the country living together happily. And then there's the Soho in this book, which is, as I say, the underground Soho, as it were. Really good. The other thing about this book, apart from it being a really good read, is that I think it's the best named. So there's a character in this who feels trapped, and I felt that. I really felt that. I felt I wanted to go and help this person. If I could somehow magically put myself in this book, I wanted to go in and get this person and help this person. So yeah, really, really good read. So real psychological, emotional trapped here. If you want physical trapped, then physically trapped, you've got to go. I think it's brand new, out. Paperback, I think next year, 2023. So in hardback. Scandinavian genre, so quite gory, very gory, early doors gory. If this was a TV show, there would be a warning at the front. Yeah, really good. This. Also got the investigators have got what you might call personality foibles that are interesting and engaging. Again, page turner. They already know it's going to sell over 30 million copies. Just that whole idea that 30 million people might have read your book is quite staggering. Putting aside all the financial impacts of that. Bear with me while I dream for a second. The other thing about this book is if you're the sort of person like me who doesn't have much time and who's juggling lots of things, and you read in little bits, little snippets here and there are, let me get this right, 537 pages, if you include the acknowledgements at the back, and 144 chapters. So you're getting chapters every sometimes every page. But at least every 2 or 3 pages. So you could always stop reading on a chapter break and you haven't got to go through looking, where was I again? And you read the last 6 paragraphs that you've already read. So from that perspective, it's genius. Wish I'd thought of it. my chapter lengths are all over the place, and apologies. I got some feedback from someone who read it when it was in draft form. It drove them mad. So apologies if you like short chapters. Mine's not your book. So here is my book, Trapped. There's family and friends have bought it. It's set in the future broadly. It starts in the quite near future, so it starts at the 2024 general election, where I suppose fed up with political scandals and various other things, that more of us turn away from the two main parties and vote for the other parties that are available to us, and a significant people switch from Tories or Labour and vote Green. So the Green vote goes up quite significantly. So that's the starting of the book. We end up with a coalition government, which is effectively led by the Greens, and they make fundamental policies about the way that we live. We need to change the way that we live, and it leads to a new, effectively a modern version of New Towns. And the story follows, personal stories, follows this character, Trapped, and it's their story as they go through challenges living in one of these new communities. And it gets quite dark. So it's called Trapped, so you're not expecting a comedy, hopefully, if you buy a book called Trapped. But things go wrong. And Sam struggles as they try to deal with the issues as they present themselves. So a number of crises collide, it says on the back. So I hope you enjoy it. It's first edition out. Very nervous, but I hope you enjoy it. If you do want to buy a book called Trapped, again, if you're that crazy person, just make sure you read it, because you could end up with a book like this. So I also bought this because it came up on my list and I thought it would be interesting. It's a Minecraft book. I mean, I barely understand what Minecraft is when it's in a computer or a games console, let alone how it can be a book. At one point, the character punches the ground and it just opens up. If you know what Minecraft is, that might make sense to you. It made absolutely no sense to me. So be careful you don't buy this. This will last you. It's only 60 pages, and the font is very good, and it's aimed at 7 to 10-year-olds, I think. So not a holiday read for most of us. But thank you very much for watching my video. It's available on Amazon and Waterstones, and as on Kindle, $2.99 on Kindle. My publishers probably want me to say. I hope you enjoy it. If you do buy it on Amazon or Waterstones.com as a result of watching this, it would be really grateful if you could put a review on. I'm really nervous as a new author to get above onto people's radars, and apparently that's best done through comments, so they tell me. I'm conscious that Richard Osman hasn't launched a book this month because there's no way I could compete with Joyce, for those of you who've read one of his books. But still, it's a competitive world out there, thousands of books. And I hope you choose to read mine. Thank you very much. I'm sure I will be posting other videos in the future.